Anytime you want to save an Excel workbook as a template, basically what you're saying is that you want to preserve it as an original. In other words, you like what you've done, you've worked hard, and you don't want anybody to overwrite it or mess with it, but you would like to make some changes later on. Well, saving it as a template, you can always open up a copy of that template, destroy the copy, and then still have your original or the template. For example, let's take a look at some of the templates that Microsoft has here by going under the File menu down to New. Over on the right hand side, click the link on My Computer. Now by default, it'll pull you to the tab you were recently on, and we've got two here. The first one is the Workbook Template. When you double click on it, it gives you a new blank. If you click on this button right here, the New button, it doesn't pull up the templates, it only pulls up a new blank template. Does it so fast, I've got 3 in fact. If I go under the window menu, you can see I've got book 1, 4, and 5. If I click on it again, now I'm on book 6, so it keeps creating a copy of that template, the blank. So if I go ahead and I type in anything in here and I save it, it doesn't overwrite that original blank template. It forces me to change the name, type in something else, and save it somewhere on my desktop. So I'm going to click Cancel and quickly close out of all these without saving them here. And then I want to go back to File to New, click on My Computer, and show you some of the solutions that Excel has here. One of which is the Timecard, and it's a template, so when I double click on it really fast, it pulls it up, and then I can, well, scroll through here. This is a time card. You can put in who's working that week. It's Bob. Whatever accounting code you want. Maybe Monday he worked a quarter of an hour, and then Tuesday 1 hour, and then maybe a half hour, and then 8.5 hours. And you can see in this template it's adding the totals down below. So if I put somebody else in and typed in their numbers here, it adds up the total hours for that day that the company's going to be paying out for Monday. Also over to the right they have a cell that's totaling up all the hours for each day of the week for Bob. And then you can scroll down and take a look at other cells and the totals as well. Now if I like this, what I can do is I can click on Save for this week, and on the desktop call it Timecard for week 1, whatever you want to name it, and then click Save. OK. So next week, week 2 happens. I don't have to come in here and delete Bob and all the numbers. That could take forever. Simply go under the File menu down to New on My Computer. Double click on the time card because it's a template. It starts over from blank again, but it preserves the design here. And you can also save or create your own Excel spreadsheet and save it as a template with headings and some numbers. So every time you open it opens up a copy and it doesn't overwrite it. In fact, let's do that right now. I'm going to close out of this without saving. And I've got a workbook. It's called My Invoice. What I did is I went File to New and I opened up the generic invoice, and I overwrote it with my company's name here, Dreamforce. Typed in ABC Corporation. In other words, what I'm doing is I like to create an invoice or a template. Every time I open it up, it'll always have Dreamforce, but it won't have these variables down here because not everybody I invoice is going to be for medical office consulting or, well, I always sell them Dream Notes. And you can see over here the quantity is 8 times unit price gives me my total. And when I click in this cell, well, you can see the formula up there. But we'll get into that a little bit later with their functions and more formulas. And then also when I scroll down, it gives me my total. So these are going to be the variables. The company name, I'm going to delete. Also the address, I'm going to delete all these. And what I want to do is I want to save it as a template. And the only thing I want in this template is my company's name. The invoice number won't be the same, so maybe I want to delete that as well. The date won't always be the same. In fact, what you can do, and here's a short little function, instead of typing in the date every single time there's an invoice, I'd like it that every time I pull up this template, or the copy of it, I'd always like today's date in there. Instead of typing it in, we do have a function. It's called the equals now function. So I'm going to type in equals NOW, open close parentheses, and then hit enter, and it always pulls in today's date. So if I save this in a couple weeks, open it back up, it'll pull up now. And then I'm going to look through here, see if there's any more variables. And then down at the bottom, I'd always like to say thank you for choosing Dreamforce as your company's training partner. So this I want to be a template. I want to preserve it. So every time I open up, I create a copy of it. All I have to do is type in the name, address, and not having to keep typing in my company's logo and information. So to save it as a template, I'm going to go File to Save As, or just click on the Save As button here. Next, I want to change the file type. By default, Excel is saying that this is a regular workbook with the extension .xls. And you can see I got a bunch of XLSs. You may or may not see them on your computer depending whether or not you've turned these codes on or off. In any case, what I want to do is I want to click on the drop down arrow and say it's an XLT, and basically your extensions tells the operating system, whatever little icon you double click on, what program is associated with it. Because it's not magic, it can't tell that book sales. I mean, you could have a dozen other different programs with the name book sales. So how does Windows know if it's a document or a spreadsheet? Well, it's the three little letters after this dot here. XLS means it's a spreadsheet. DOC would be a document. And in this case, XLT is going to be a template for Excel. Once I click on it, boom, it automatically takes me to the template folder, and then down below, simply give it a name. And I'll call it my invoice for Dreamforce or DF invoice. Now I could click Save right now, and what would happen is that it would save it. And if you recall, you had two tabs, a General tab and also the Solutions. Well, if I save it now, it saves it on the General tab, but if I click on this New Folder button, I'm going to add an additional tab. In fact, let's call it, I want to save all of my templates in the Dreamforce tab so I can keep them all organized. So when I click OK, this folder up here to where I'm saving it in is going to be on the Dreamforce folder, or the Dreamforce tab, and then down below the name is Dreamforce Invoice. Click Save. Then I'm going to close out. Let's pretend it's a new day and I want to do some invoicing. So I can go File to New, click on My Computer, and there we have it. We have my own tab for Dreamforce to throw all my invoices in, or to throw all of my templates in. All I have to do is double click on it to open it back up. And it doesn't open up the template, it opens up a copy of it. So if I come in here, make any changes and start messing around and destroying things, the moment I click Save, you'll notice it's not saving as an XLT or a template. So it's not going to overwrite my original template. It's forcing me to save it as something else, as a workbook. In which case I need to find the place that I want to save it. I'll click on my desktop, find some folder and double click on it and say maybe this is an invoice. And then simply click OK. After I click Save, I can close out of here, File to New. It's a new day, go on My Computer, double click on Dreamforce Invoice. It starts over again. I can destroy this workbook and then save it. Now, if at any time you need to delete the template, you don't want to use it anymore, let me show you a few tricks here. Because the cursor's flashing in the cell, I don't have access to a lot of my buttons up here. So like I said, in level 1, if you ever get in trouble, hit Escape on the keyboard. And now I have access to them. So for example, if I click on Save As, and I change it to an XLT here, it pulls me right into the templates folder with my Dreamforce folder. And if I double click, there's my invoice. Now I can right click and delete these, but keep in mind that you want to make sure that when you delete them that you don't have this open. Sometimes they'll delete, sometimes they won't. For example, if I've been recently working on the Dreamforce invoice, what it does is it may leave a little ghost open, so it thinks I'm still working on it. So when I right click and go down to delete, if it doesn't delete, the best thing would be to do is to cancel and close out of here completely, and close out of Excel, and then open it back up, and then go Save As, click the drop down arrow, go to XLT, and then go ahead and right click and left click on the delete button, or double click in here and right click and delete the actual template within that folder. Now here's something interesting. If I go File to New and I want to pull up that tab Dreamforce, when I click on it, it's not going to be there, even though I have the folder there. And the reason why is that if there's no templates within that folder, the tab's not going to show. So it's going to be blank. So you can always have that there and ready to use anytime you save a template. So what I'll do is I'll go Save As, I'll go back to the template folder, and I'll delete completely my Dreamforce tab or Dreamforce folder. And you see where it says it cannot because it's being used. Again, if you get one of these errors, you want to click Cancel, close out of Excel completely, and then you can open up Excel, do Save As, click on the drop down, go to Templates, right click, left click on Delete, and say yes, you want to delete the folder, it's gone. By default, you don't get that many templates installed on your computer. File to new. You get a few. But if you need a lot more, Microsoft has hundreds to perhaps thousands online that you can choose from by clicking on this link, Templates Online. Make sure obviously you have internet connection. Down here they have the templates of the day. Now this isn't just Excel templates, these are Excel, PowerPoint, Word. For example, I'm going to type up here statements for the medical billing office. I've already typed it in once, so if I left click on the link here and click go, it'll pull up all the statements, and you can see right here that this statement format is for Microsoft Word, this one's for Publisher. So you may want to scroll through it until you find the one for Excel, the little icon here. You get the user ratings, what they think of it, and how many voted. And if you want to download it, just, well, simply click on it, and then click on the download now, and there we have it. And you can scroll through and use that one, and if you want to save it as your template, again, you know the drill. File the save as and change it to an XLT so you can save the template on your computer. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, as soon as I upload a new video, you'll be notified instantly, and you can do that by coming over here and clicking on my face. You can also click here to support me, so for $2 a month, you can have access to over 2,700 training videos, all ad-free, and for a few bucks more, you can have access to my exercises, instructor notes, quizzes, certificate of completion, and a whole lot more.